Here.
Okay. Honorable Phillips.
I'm here, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Malinga.
I'm here, Chair.
Honorable Mailam.
I'm here, Chair.
Honorable Mam Tenjane. Only present, Mam Tenjane.
Where is it? Mr. Mtenjane? He was here earlier on, Chair.
No, he's on the screen. It's written to Misani M.
Yeah, because he confirmed earlier, maybe just stepped out.
No,
Mr.
he was
Mtenjane?
here. I saw him on the screen.
I'm present, Chair. I'm here, Chair.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I'm here, Chair.
Honorable Volmarans.
I'm here.
Okay. Babu Volmarans. Honorable Volmarans. Babu Volmarans, if you are in, just unmute your mic.
Hello?
Can you unmute your mic, Honorable Volmarans? Okay, we will try and find him if when he comes back. But I can safely say we do have a quorum that that we have. Honorable Numalo ended up coming in.
Not yet, Chair.
Okay, but fortunately we make. Okay.
I'm present, Chair.
Fanyane.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Ma'am Fanyane, thank you. The last time you were not here, I hope you didn't go to the wrong room in the lounge. Okay. Is I saw Mintek is in. Sanet, are you in?
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
We are joined by Honorable Hanif Hendricks from Al Jama.
Oh, okay. Honorable Hendricks.
Yes, thank you, Chair. With your permission, I'd like to be part of the meeting.
Okay. No. You are a member of parliament. You can't, unfortunately, even if we didn't want you here, the rules allow you as a member of parliament to be here. I was only surprised. I thought you have crossed the floor to represent one of the entities when I saw you on the screen, or is someone who looks like you?
Well, we can't cross the floor to join other political parties, but I can cross the floor in the portfolio committee, which I've been doing now. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is Sanet in?
Honorable Chair, yes, we are here.
Okay. Necsa, are you in?
Honorable Chair, we are here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we know we will try. The time now is almost 10 past. You, as entities, we have your presentations. We have received. Babu Mkwaina, I was told Mkwaina stands for a crocodile. Are you in with your team, DG?
We are in, Chair. We are in. Thank you very much, Chair.
I'm giving you the next 3 minutes and to make we will deal with the Sanedi first. It's 15 minutes, Sanedi. Unfortunately, we don't even have to add a minute. Stick to the points, and after that, we will allow honorable members. I will do the same thing. Honorable Hendricks, because of time, I may not be able to explain other things, but each member has got 3 minutes. We try to order in such a way that every political party is represented, that is in the committee, is able to speak. We will give you the slot where you are coming in, but it's only for 3 minutes per member. Depending on the time we have, when we are done, we may allow members to come back and ask questions that are outstanding or follow-up questions. So the more we manage time, the more we may have an opportunity. As I've said, we will start with Sanedi and DG.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Bring the ropes to me at 8 minutes past
6. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good evening to honorable members of PPC. As we have correctly outlined that
sorry a bit, DG. Babumioli, can you just decide and mute your own camera? Only those that will be coming in, like Sanedi, when you speak, we want to see you when you speak and hear you when you speak. Just put the mute button on the video. Continue, DJ.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Chair, we have the 3 entities that are going to present their state plans and APPs. You have outlined in terms of the process. I have also raised this matter with the CEOs of our entities that they must just zoom straight to the actual issues that they want to bring to the attention of honorable members. But Chair, I thought that I should just reflect on 2 or 3 key issues that we are appearing before you today or this evening, precisely to account based on what we have presented to you in terms of our strat plan and also our APPs. And so the CEOs, they will be very brief in taking you through their presentations. Then after that, we would, wait for the questions. We will be very much mindful of how do we manage our time. I think today we had a good session where the colleagues were able to manage time accordingly. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Over to you, Sanedi.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be taking you through the Sanedi presentation. My name is Letabo Manamela, and I am currently the interim CEO. So I just want to allow me to just share my screen so I can present. Okay. I'm not sure if you're able to see my screen. Can you just please confirm?
No, there is nothing.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, continue.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our strategic plan for the 2021 to 2025 and our APP. I will be going through the presentation. It's quite lengthy, but I'm going to just jump through a few slides so that I can be able to just cover the key parts of our presentation. In terms of the contents, it's just the introduction, then we're going to jump into the strategic plan and the annual performance plan. Who are we? We are an entity that is established in terms of the National Energy Act, and our mandate, this is the summarized version, is to direct, monitor, and conduct energy research and development, promote energy research and technology innovation, as well as to undertake measures to promote energy efficiency throughout the economy. If you go into the Act, okay, My apologies, my laptop seems to be frozen. Not sure what happened. Hello, can you still hear me?
Proceed, madam. We will tell you if we can't hear you. Proceed.
Oh no, I'm saying my screen seems to be frozen, so I was stuck on a single slide. Okay. In terms of the Act, under energy efficiency, we are mandated to undertake energy efficiency measures as directed by the Minister to increase energy efficiency throughout the economy, to increase the GDP per unit of energy consumed, to optimize also the utilization of finite energy resources. Now, on the applied energy research side, our mandate is quite broad, and it covers things like to direct, monitor, conduct, and implement energy research, promote energy research and technology innovation, training, the expansion of industries, commercialization. So the list is quite broad. I'm not going to go through all the details, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what the mandate of the organization is. Mission, vision, and impact statements. I'm just going to focus on the impact statement, which in terms of the framework we are supposed to have for the next 5 years. And we've decided to say we want to enable decarbonization and a just transition from a fuel-based economy to an efficient, cleaner energy economy for sustainable development. And that is going to be done. We have 3 programs. It's an applied energy research and development program, the energy efficiency program, and also we have an administrative program. The legislation that is governing our mandate, I'm not going to read those. This is in the presentation if you want to have a look at it. And then in terms of the strategic plan, what we've also just decided to do was to just give you an executive summary of what we are saying we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and then also what is actually influencing some of our decisions. So because of we know that energy plays a vital role, we said we want to make sure that when we are in our strategy for the next 5 years, we focus on universal, sustainable, affordable energy needs so that we can enable economic growth and development. We want to focus our strategy on the creation of an enabling environment within which policy decisions and investment can take place. How are we going to do this? We said we're going to do this through the provision of timely, quality, reliable data resources, accurate, balanced data analysis, policy support instruments, capacity building initiatives, sector support interventions, awareness creation of technologies, and administrative support of government programs. As you are aware, we are responsible under the Section 12L of the Income Tax Act to support SARS in terms of the providing the technical review of applications. When people submit the applications for the tax incentives, we actually issue the certificates that enable them to claim the energy savings on that. So we will continue to provide that support. And also in terms of the new regulations that are going to be coming out on public buildings, SANEDI will be responsible for the issuing of certificates in that regard. So we're going to be focusing on that. We're saying also we will strive for continuous alignment with the department. This is very important because if you're going to leverage limited resources, partnerships are key. So we need to make sure that we have alignment between ourselves and the department. And we also have a defined value chain in terms of where does SANEDI get involved and where does the department get involved so that we can eliminate duplications. In terms of partnerships, this is vital to the success of our organization. And even in the past 5 years, this has been key in ensuring that we deliver on our mandate. And here we are trying to leverage, like we said, external resources so that we can just augment sometimes our budget and also the technical capacity that we have. The other thing we said we want to do is strengthen partnerships with academia, other national departments, other organs of state, donor agencies, and the private sector. We also want to focus on the issue of smart cities. The country has embraced the concept of smart cities, and how we'll do that is that we're going to focus on technologies and systems for smart cities, financial sustainability of municipalities, cleaner mobility and decarbonization of transport, capabilities required for smart systems. We're also going to be looking at the business case for greening of municipal fleets. And why we want to do that is we want to look at one, reduction in the cost of transportation. We want to also ensure that there's a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We want to ensure that there is congestion management and also the possibility of additional revenue for municipalities. Here we are looking at the potential for municipalities to possibly own the infrastructure on electric vehicles, so that revenue, when you have charging stations perhaps that are rolled out throughout the country, then maybe the municipalities can be receiving revenue from that as well. We also were going to focus on carbon capture and storage and utilization, and this is vital if we are looking at extending the life of coal as our primary energy resource, reducing carbon emissions, and also creating new industries using the CO2 as a feedstock. So no longer we're looking at a situation where greenhouse gas emissions now become a resource that we can use and actually create products out of, and also create industries and the possibility of jobs also being created there as well. We're going to also focus on pilots that have a greater impact for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, capacity building initiatives, especially focusing on the youth, women, and persons with disabilities. We're also going to be focusing on building a data repository, and we've made quite a lot of investment in our IT infrastructure to allow this to happen. I'm not going to go through the environmental analysis. This was just to give you an understanding of the factors that influenced our decision when we actually developed our strategy. Our organizational structure: we have the executive authority, we have the board with a number of subcommittees, the board audit and risk remuneration projects committee, and then you have the CEO, and under the CEO you have a number of general managers that are responsible for the administration, applied energy research, and the energy efficiency. And then under the applied energy and research and development and innovation, you have about 6 sub-programs, and that is the cleaner fossil fuels, smart grids, working for energy, renewable energy, and cleaner mobility, and data knowledge and management. Now, those are just giving you more details of the different programs and what they do. I'll just skip that. And then I just want to go into the outcomes and targets, just looking at the next 5 years, what we are saying we want to do. So we've linked this as well to the MTS priorities, and the first one, which is the smart grid systems piloted for smart cities. We're saying that links to priority number 5 and priority number 2. And the target there is we want to have at least 3 pilots of smart grid systems, and that will be done under the Applied Energy and Research and Development Program. And then under number 2 is we're going to look at demonstrated greenhouse gas emissions mitigation potential in support of national commitments. That will be the outcome, and that is linked to priority number 2, 7, and 3. And then the targets there will be, we want to see at least in the projects that we are going to be doing, the potential of 4.3 megatons of CO2 reduction, and that will also be done under the Applied Energy and Research and Development Program. And then the third outcome is the awareness of technologies to be used during the transition program, linked to priority 7 and 2. And then we want to see evidence-backed awareness of technologies that can be used in the transition process. And I'll give more detail on that when I go into the APP. And then the program there is Applied Energy Research and Development, as well as the energy efficiency side. And then, well, outcome number 4 is we want to see evidence-based planning, resource allocation, decision-making enabled by accurate, timely information, data sets, and data analysis. And the target there is we want to see a centralized and up-to-date data repository on either cleaner fossil fuels and also renewable energies that is available to stakeholders. And the program there is also Applied Energy Research and Development, as well as the energy efficiency. And then the next outcome is the energy transition expertise and competence building. And we want to see more than 10 expertise and competency building solutions that we ourselves are going to enable, so that we can bring the capacity that will allow the country to transition from a fossil-based economy to a clean economy. And then we also have a capacitated, effective, and efficient operational environment. This is now looking inside of the organization, making sure that we maintain our clean audit outcomes, making sure that we maintain our IT infrastructure, that it is resilient, making sure that we have appropriate and proper risk management processes in place. And that is also under the Applied Energy Research, Development, Energy Efficiency, as well as the administration. The next outcome is also looking inward, and we're looking at internal operational effectiveness and efficiency. And also there we have a measure that we have a baseline that we've set bar for ourselves, and we're saying we want to see more than 84% operational efficiency. And then we want to see a capacitated and efficient environment. And the reason why this is duplicated, because it's looking outward and inward. So capacity building, looking at capacitating external people who are not employed within the organization. And here we are focusing on employees within the organization. The key risks, I'm not going to go through the risks, but we have identified certain risks that can affect us or limit our ability to deliver on our mandate. For example, maybe the first one, the lack of coordination between departments. So if there's no coordination, we will not be able to leverage our resources, and it might result in duplication. We have a very constrained budget, so we just need to make sure that when we implement programs, we focus on those that nobody else is doing, and then we also bring people together so that we can just be able to leverage on each other's resources. I will not touch on all of them. I would just like to go through and move to the annual performance plan. In terms of the annual performance plan, now these are the sub-programs that we are going to be looking into and focusing our attention at in terms of delivering on our mandate. So we have the cleaner fossil fuels, where we are looking at clean fuels technologies, carbon capture and storage, and carbon capture and utilization being some of those technologies. Under the smart grid sub-program, we are looking at smart systems, the integration of your technology in terms of into your energy systems, and we are also looking at issues of financial sustainability of municipalities, asset management, revenue enhancement. And the cleaner mobility, we're looking at cleaner vehicles or clean transportation systems, data knowledge management. That's where we are looking at building a data center within Sanedi. And renewable energies, we are looking at piloting a number of renewable energy technologies, especially those that will maximize our potential for greenhouse gas emission reduction. And we are looking at all forms of renewable energies there: solar power, wind, waste to energy, wave, ocean current. And we're looking at storage, and also looking at capacity building as well. And under the Working for Energy program specifically, we are looking at clean energy solutions for rural and peri-urban areas, and also implementation.
You are left with 3 minutes now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I will and speed it up. My apologies, I'm just stuck again. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, and then under administration is just the maintenance of our internal control environment, making sure that we keep our clean administration going. And then I'm going to move on to the Applied Energy and Research Program. That's where I said we're going to be looking at carbon capture and utilization, looking at a proof of concept for carbon capture and utilization, smart technologies pilots, awareness creation on renewable energy technologies that can be used. And we have a number of partnerships that we've entered into there. I just want to move quickly and go into the energy efficiency section, because I've already touched on most of these. Under the energy efficiency section, I've already spoken about our mandate and what we're supposed to do. That is just our baseline in terms of what we've done so far and what we're building on. And then here we have two major projects that we're going to be doing in partnership with the Department of Minerals and Energy. We are going to be implementing two projects. One has a 3-year funding from the EU, and it's looking at the public sector. And we are looking at data collection and modeling energy performance, and this is in public buildings. We're looking at, first one is public buildings, and then the second one is going to be looking at South African water waste treatment plants. We will be responsible for the measurement and evaluation in those projects. And then we also have funding to the tune of about 700,000 euros for this particular project, and that is the energy efficiency side. On On the finances, we have about 234 million that we've been allocated, that we have to use for the next financial year, and 38.5% of that comes from the MTEF, 61.5% comes from external funds, the World Bank funding for the carbon capture and storage, as well as the funding for the public buildings. We're expecting a slight reduction in our revenue, and that's basically because of external funding for some of our projects has gone down somewhat, and total compensation of employees budget is about 25.5%. Depreciation is cost about 1.5% of our total budget.
Thank you.
And then in terms of
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Unfortunately, like I said, we are trying to at least have a voice that talks to the presentation. The presentations are here. Can I advise the ones that are coming again to make your work much more easier? There is something on your phone. You will see when you go to your, whatever you call it, there is something called clock. Just when you start, press that clock. It will tell you, it says start. You then start counting. You will see when you are on the 12th minute or 14th minute that now the time is coming to a close. And I advise also that take out some notes, put them next to you and say, these are the key points I want to talk to, so that I can be able to convince honorable members or plead my case to honorable members or whatever that you want the committee to not to leave without hearing from. It will help you. Honorable members, like I said, let me start with Honorable Mahlaule, and then it will be Honorable Mailam, and then it will be Honorable Sonyane. I'm told Honorable Ngumalo and have joined us, and Bilankulu. Is that so? Then after Honorable Sonyane, it will be Honorable Malinga. Ne? After Honorable Malinga, it will be Honorable Ngumalo. After Honorable Ngumalo, it will be Honorable Bilankulu. After Honorable Bilankulu, it will be Honorable Hendricks. After Honorable Hendricks, it will be Honorable Mtenjane. And after Honorable Mtenjane, it will be Honorable Phillips. And after Honorable Phillips, it will be Honorable Volmarans, sorry. Having said so, you are not, we are giving all you members 3 minutes each to raise so that we keep the time. I know it's not, it's gonna take us too long. 3 minutes to keep the time, but if you want us to pass, you can say so, but we want you to say with your own mouth that no, you can pass me. Honorable Mahlaule.
Thanks, Chairperson. I want to welcome the presentation by Sanedi and commend the work that they are doing. I'm particularly pleased with a paragraph in slide 12 which speaks about the continuation of work on carbon capture and utilization. The extension of the project from just compliance side to storage to utilization is very important, and the following bullet point gives a very good reason why that is important, because if you listened to the CGS report that they've just discovered tons and tons of coal in Molteno, if I'm not mistaken about the name. It then suggests that as much as we want to be environmentally friendly, we can't afford as the country to move away from coal. We need to maintain coal as a primary source of electricity as we have been doing. It's very important that we look at technologies that will provide cleaner coal and the environment in that respect. I'm just particularly happy with that point, and to me, it completes me. I just wanted to make that point, Chair. It's not a question. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Ms. Manamela. I just want to raise a couple of questions and comments. My first is in connection with the amount of input that SANEDI has into energy policy and the IRP. Are you the key drivers of that process, or does it sit at the department, and how much input do you have into that? Then I note that you have put particular emphasis on smart grids, and I just want to drill down into that a little bit. If you could give me some clarity as to whether or not that includes the rollout of microgrids at a, for example, industrial park or place like that, and whether any thought has been given to that. I'm very pleased to see that you've highlighted greenhouse gas emissions as a priority. I am concerned that you talk targets. Can I carry on, Chair? I am concerned that you talk in your targets of carbon capture and less of emissions. And I would really welcome some input here as to the relationship between SANEDI and Eskom, particularly with regard to Eskom's emission control. We've seen over the last couple of weeks that a number of power stations have been held or caught out for their emissions, particularly Kendall has got an emissions problem. So are you talking to them about this? Are you helping them? Are they listening to you? And if not, why not? Then the last question I have is SANEDI's role in let me back up a step. You've got as one of your key priorities energy efficiency, and we've noted over the past couple of years that the National Solar Water Heater Program has not been rolled out efficiently, and it actually hasn't been rolled out at all. So what is SANEDI's role in implementing the National Solar Water Heater Program, and do you have any input into that? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Milam. Honorable Sanyane.
Thank you, Chair. We welcome the presentation, Chairperson, and I only have 3 questions, or maybe clarities in this case. In the presentation, you spoke about smart grid systems, right? But it's like you'll only apply smart grid systems with smart cities. So I just want to understand that, is the smart grid system going to wait for the smart cities, or are we going to start early on the smart grid system and incorporate it with the systems that we are having in the country? The second question, Chairperson, was that I'm happy that they have identified that there is lack of coordination with the departments in this country. And there are a lot of programs which are happening on energy savings across the country, but they are not properly coordinated. And I'm hoping that this department can actually try and bring everyone together so that we understand exactly as a country what are we doing and when are we doing it. The last one is that you've spoken about the assisting public works. You said it's one of the projects that you'll be doing on public works, assisting them. Yes, public work is one of the wasteful spenders of energy. And I am really hoping that that program can kick in as soon as possible so that we can change our buildings of public works to be smart buildings. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kanyane. Honorable Malinga, any take?
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings again, colleagues. Chairperson, let me start by what I don't like. Maybe to the DG, DC acting. I heard the presenter saying she's interim. Hey, I think that he puts the entities in a very distasteful state. But nonetheless, let me welcome the presentation, Chair. My question, Chairperson, will be, will Sanedi engage in research which will assess how energy can be made cheaper? The last one, Chair, how can government facilitate access to energy in non-grid and rural areas? Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Numan, any take?
He is here, Chair, according to the list.
Okay. I don't catch him. Honorable Bilankulu, any take?
Sorry, Chair, I think he's got a problem with network because it keeps on coming and then leaving again. I'll just check him on the phone.
Okay. Honorable Bilankulu, any take?
Yeah, I don't know what is happening with Mr. Bilankulu. He is here. Maybe he can just switch on his mic to speak because it shows as he's in the meeting.
And then done with Honorable Bilankulu. We'll see when he comes. Honorable Hendricks, it's 3 minutes. But you can take less than that. It's up to you, Honorable Hendricks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, as you know, young children, especially primary school children, are in the forefront to save the planet. They have some fantastic ideas with the help of the educators on how we can save energy. I want to know if the department has a line of communication, especially with our young people, because they are in the front line to save the planet, and they have ideas, and it'd be nice to note that we are using the ideas. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Janjan, any take?
Zeker 3 minuten. Ik heb het maar niet gepraat. Lang praten.
We know it's cut us up, it's supper time. Can we not hear other conversations except this one?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Try and increase your voice, please.
Chairperson. Yes, it looks like the honorable is still on the floor.
Any question?
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. No, it's fine. Yes. Yes, Chairperson, thank you very much. I'm cut, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
I'm not sure. I can't hear
Can
Honorable.
you hear me?
Yes, but
Honorable
very
Chair.
far.
Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Oh, I think it was
Yes,
because
I said thank
Honorable
you.
Hendricks was on.
Continue, Honorable Mtenjane. Okay. Can I make it easy, Honorable Mtenjane? Can you write on
Chairperson,
the?
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now, Chair?
The world is listening to
Chairperson,
you.
can you hear me?
Let's come back later to you, Honorable Phillips. Can you go in? We'll come back to you,
Now.
Honorable.
Thank you
Can
very
you hear me now, Chairperson?
We hear you,
Can you
Honorable
hear me?
Mtenjane. We hear you. You
Yes,
don't
I
hear
say
us.
thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm covered.
Thank you, Honorable Phillips.
Thank you very much, Chair. On
I
page
am covered, Chairperson. Thank you. You
Yes,
can
we
carry
heard
on.
you. Sure.
Yes,
Honorable.
Chairperson. I'm also listening to you. I said thank you very much. I'm covered, Chairperson.
Okay. Okay, Honorable Phillips. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Chair. On page 3 of the strategic plan,
Yes, but
I
I can hear you, Chair.
Give us a chance to finish, Honorable Mtenjane. I will come back to you. Ayanda, can you talk, or Ariko, talk to Honorable Mtenjane on the side, please? Honorable Phillips, continue.
Okay, Chair, will do.
Okay, thank you very much. On page 3 of the strategic plan, there's a line item that says there's a World Bank grant of 23 million US dollars. I'd just like to know, has that money already been given to Sanedi? Is it in our bank account or in your bank account? Or do you only get it once you implement the project? That's the first question. Then I see that you have got a roadmap that you say you've developed. I'd like to have a copy of that roadmap if possible, please. And then on page 24, you've got a item that says the carbon capture project is crucial. Now, I am aware that in about 2018, 2019, there were some tenders that went out for the carbon capture project. The tenders were then withdrawn. Is there an update on those particular tenders? And then my next question is, Sanedi currently working with any municipalities in the country? Thanks very much.
Thank you, Honorable Vulmarant.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Let me also take the time to welcome the presentation. I think I've been covered on a few of the issues that I wanted to ask. On page 40, on slide 48, given that 65% of the budget comes from external funding, maybe for programs and projects, do we have a mitigating approach on what happens if this type of high percentage of your budget gets reduced due to other factors beyond your control? How do we mitigate you going forward if the bulk of it is from external funding? Then on page 55, there's a target that you have put on for training, which is 739 and 472 respectively. What is the current status of that target? Are we getting closer to it? Is there work on it? If we can just expatiate on it. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Sanedi, You've got 10 minutes, please, to answer. Just give straight questions, please. Sorry, straight answers, not questions.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Okay, I'm gonna start with the questions from, I think, Mr. Hilleman. I hope I pronounced it correctly, and I would just like to allow Dr. Bypath to maybe answer those questions. They're mainly to do with the smart grids and also the inputs to the IRP. Thank you, Chair.
Good day, Chair. I'm Dr. Bypath from Senedi. I will respond to some of the smart grid questions and the questions on the IRP. Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you, but we can't see you.
Sorry, okay, I can switch on my camera, yeah? Okay, with regard to the IRP, a lot of the data that Senedi collects, especially around the wind resources and the resource maps, are input that goes into the IRP planning. With regard to the IRP planning itself, Senedi is not directly involved, as that is the mandate of the department, and they drive that process. However, the data that goes into some of the models we do collect. With regard to the question on microgrids, yes, Senedi is actively involved. So when you talk of smart grids, it's all encompassing. Senedi has developed a smart grid vision document. It has developed a roadmap for municipalities, and also encompasses the work on the microgrids. Now, why the work on the microgrids is important is, if you look at our electrification targets, we are probably at about 90% electrified. But for the remaining 10%, the cost of actually electrifying those is going to be rather expensive, and so alternative sources of electrifying those customers is going to be looked at, and microgrids features in that space. So we are certainly looking at that. Currently, we collaborate with the Eskom research in this space. Eskom research has a demonstration facility in Vicksburg already, which is really a microgrid, and it's a working microgrid project in the Vicksburg area. With regard to the solar water heating, unfortunately, the department's solar water heating program is managed really by the department and the Central Energy Fund. However, Senedi does do research in the water space, and really we focus on trying to assist the government departments, the public building sector, and also we've got ongoing projects with the Department of Defense. Now, the question from the Honorable from the EFF was really around the issue of smart grids, smart cities, and what's the linkage. Well, the all-encompassing strategy for municipalities is smart cities. Smart grids is a subset of smart cities, and therefore, from a strategic planning point of view, has to be driven from a smart city point of view. However, implementation can be individual, and we don't necessarily have to wait for smart cities to be there in place. However, Senedi is involved with the COCTA directly on the Smart Cities project, and the issues around integration and the back office planning, which is really a major part of what Smart Cities is all about, is being coordinated at this stage. With regard to the Eskom emissions, yes, Senedi works with Eskom regarding the CCS. So Eskom are intimately aware of what the potential is, but beyond the CCS, no, we don't do too much more with Eskom on the emission side. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you, Minesh. And then I will just take the rest of the questions. The question on the solar water heating program, no, we are not involved there. That is being done by the department. And also the question on how we can use energy, how we can make energy cheaper. We are looking at studies to looking at the cost of supply of energy in the country. And then also we have some pilot projects that we have done in the past that we're going to be continuing with, looking at using bioenergy, especially in places where maybe energy is not available, or as an option of making energy more affordable. We have pilots that we have rolled out in schools, in ECDs, and also in households, looking at how to use bioenergy for cooking, and also maybe pairing that with the use of solar thermal to provide water heating. So we are looking at that as well. As for the line of communications, I'm not sure if I should respond to this because it was to the department, but we do work with the departments. I know we collaborate with them on a number of engagements that they're doing with the youth on the ground. I'll just maybe mention one, the Learner Focus Week. We also participated there with the department. And then the CCS one, Minesh has touched on. We do have ESCOM sitting on our advisory committee for carbon capture and storage. The World Bank funding, the 23 million has not yet been received. It's going to be paid in tranches as and when we implementing the project. We will be submitting a request for funding. And then also there was the issue of a roadmap. I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, but I'm not sure which roadmap because we have a number of roadmaps. But if it's the whole roadmap, then we can make that available as well. And then the withdrawal of the tenders for CCS. We had to withdraw the tenders, unfortunately, because we were working on finalizing our terms of reference with some of the partners, and we have finalized the terms of reference. But unfortunately, we have to wait for the lockdown before we can issue any of the terms of reference. There was a question about external funding. I can say for the next 5 years, in terms of what we have in the strategy, that has been funded. So in the next 5 years, we are okay in terms of funding for the project, and we are continuously looking for opportunities for external funding. I mean, there's a number of funds out there that have been established specifically to assist developing countries or countries across the world in terms of transitioning from fossil fuels, the climate, the green fund, the GEF funds. So there is money that is sitting out there. We just have to make sure that we come up with project proposals that will meet the criteria of those different funds. So I don't see it as an issue in the next 5 years, but we are looking for opportunities where those exist.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Okay. Thank you.
Honorable members, unfortunately, can I make this request? It's a standard thing. When you are on the screen, please switch on the mic and the video. It means when you are speaking, so that we can see you. When you are not speaking, please switch off the mic and the what you call it, and the video. Secondly, for future meetings, I request honorable members, all of us, somebody told me off the record that, or in another meeting, that where I used to sit, there was a problem with my network. So I must find the space I was speaking on was much more better. Hence, I chose this spot now. So let's try by all means. If it means go on top of the roof, try and sit on top of the roof as long as we can be able to get the network so that we hear members very well and properly, if that's possible. The last point I request, when we say, like Mintech, when we go to you, go to the I don't know which phone you use, but please go to the clock Once you see the clock there, just when you start opening, press the clock where you're gonna say reset if it is busy, it was working, then it will say it will have start at the bottom. Just press the start, it will guide you. How much time are you using? Because honorable members must get an opportunity also to ask questions so that the presentation doesn't end only on presentation. So we don't have to say your time is up. It's because you are also timing yourself. Thank you very much. Mintek, you take your own 15 minutes. It has got an extra now, 15:15. Bring back the robes to me.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Can you? Hello?
I see and hear you. The only thing that is not there is your presentation.
Can you see the presentation, Chair?
Me not.
No, no presentation.
Continue though. Whilst you are trying your presentation, we do have it in our gadgets, or we might have. Yeah, we got it now.
You can see it?
Yes.
Okay. Chair, the presentation, if you look at it, is very comprehensive. I will not be presenting all the slides. So what I'll be doing is to just give a high-level key issues. The rest of the slides are really the details that I will not be presenting. Chair, this is the layout of our presentation. Main target at glance, current operating environment, which is really important, overview of key challenges and risks, and our strategic programs. Actually, I'll end the presentation there, Chair, because the rest is just trends that indicate where we came from and where we are. So I will not be going through the details of those slides, Chair.
You want us to ask questions on your presentation? I didn't expect this one.
Chair?
I'm saying you want us to. I didn't expect this one. This is the shortest ever presentation.
No, I'm not done, Chair.
Eh?
I'm not done, Chair.
Oh, hey, you shocked me. I thought you were saying you end there.
No, Chair, that's a mistake.
Okay, continue.
I think it's important to reflect on Mintech's mandate. Basically, our mandate reinforces the fact that Mintech is a research, development, and technology organization, and primarily our aim is to foster the establishment and expansion of industries and to develop products related to our core activities. We are Schedule 3B. The significance of that, Chair, is that we do not receive 100% state funding. We need to be sustainable. 60 to around 60% of our total income comes from.
Your presentation has disappeared though, so you are talking to us, but continue.
Maybe mistake, Chair.
Continue.
Can you see it? Do you see it?
Oh, it's not there, but I'm just saying once you talk, you can, because we do have it. I hope all members have it in front of them.
Okay, just a minute, Chair. Let me check what went wrong.
Yes, you are back now.
Do you see, Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. At Schedule 3B, Chair, it means we are not receiving 100% of income from the state. Actually, we receive about 40% of our total income from the state. The rest comes from our contract research and the sale of our products and services. This is where we come from. The significance of this slide, Chair, is to indicate where we play. We are not in the mining space, but when you mine, you give us the rock, then we develop all the technologies to extract the valuable minerals from the rock, Chair. What we're saying with this bubble is that we do not have a research and development entity established by Act of Parliament. That's all we are saying that. We're a global entity. You can see a lot of activities in SADC, Europe, Australia, Asia. Now, if you look at what we promised to deliver, this slide, Chair, captures everything that we said we'll deliver in 2020/21 financial year. The first part, we're talking to learning and growth. This is about our people. Our biggest asset is our employees, our researchers. We're sitting at a staff complement of 531. 43% of that is set. That's where our challenge is. We have more capacity in support than people doing our core work. We'd like to increase that 43% and reduce the staff complement in support. The blacks, then we look at transformation of the set base. Science, engineering, technology, we're sitting at 80% transformed, and we're sitting at 50% female. In terms of the researchers, the qualification profile, we're sitting at 17% of our set employees having PhDs and 23%. This is projection to have master's degrees. Financially, we were projecting to make 568 million rand, total income and expenses 562, and a surplus of close to 6 million. We do invest in human capital, our biggest asset, and we're projecting to invest close to 40 million. It is important for us to track BEE spend, which is roughly sitting at 93%, and we're projecting to spend 96%. Liquidity ratio, going concern, we're projecting to be sitting at 1.5 to 1 in terms of ratio. Now, our core business, what do we produce? These are some of the KPIs that we measure on research, development, and innovation. The journal papers, we're projecting to produce 30, conference papers 70, and these are refereed papers. It is important because also we're looking at quality. And we do write the books and chapters in books, which we are tracking. In terms of technologies, the first thing that we measure when we have a good idea is invention disclosures, which we do report to NIPMO, which is our National Intellectual Property Management Office sitting at the DST. Then from there, if we have something that is very, very strong in terms of breakthrough, then we register patents. We anticipate to register about 4 patents in this financial year. And we do have a lot of products that we do trademark them. We have seen in a previous slide that we operate globally, as well as you look at other, I have a challenge here with the other block. Chair, if you look at, let me quickly look at the last block, which is our prototype, which is our actually working products. We anticipate to have about 18. Then we license our technologies to industry. We anticipate to register, to sign 2 licenses. So in a nutshell, this is high level glance at Mintech. Everything that I've presented is in our scorecard, so I will not be talking to those slides at the end of the presentation that talks to our scorecard. Current operating environment, Chair, in a nutshell, we spoke about this before, and other entities. Two major events happened: COVID-19 pandemic and the downgrade. Unfortunately, that puts into question the reasonableness of our models, assumptions, and projections. So what I'll be showing later, Chair, without taking into account mitigations, we revisited our models and assumptions, and we'll be presenting to you to give you a picture of where we think we'll be without mitigations, but we are not asking to change what we have committed to, because we had to take into account COVID-19 and the downgrade. Unfortunately, the restrictions on movements locally and internationally has a negative impact on our ability to earn local and foreign income, as you have seen in the previous slide that we're a global company. Okay, this is the reality, that there's an economic slowdown that we took into account when we revisited our assumptions and models, and the uncertainties surrounding COVID-19. We had already put into place cost containment measures, and what that also indicates, Chair, we have to revisit our performance scorecard, and it also means that we might not achieve all our performance targets, but we'll present to that. What we do put to the committee as Mintech undertakings is that we will retain employees as far as possible. We will not be contributing to job losses. We will be focusing on filling selected key positions, reskilling, and retraining our employees. It is important for us to increase capacity to operate off-site and remotely. Most of our technologies, especially in the measurement and control, most of the products that we've installed in the mines, actually we can monitor them from Mintech. This is for IR related activities. It is important for us, it was important for us to really prioritize our programs and our budget to really weather the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Further, we are saying as Mintech, we undertake to remain a going concern. And this is solely based on our stable financial position. At the moment, our state grant support over the MTF period, as well as the currently secured commercial project pipeline. Having said that, we will be monitoring this space very carefully. In terms of strategic programs, we are committing to Mintech to support the development of the state pharmaceutical company, which is Caterpillar. And I'll talk more about our efforts in the production of hand and surface sanitizers, rapid test kits, as well as the main ingredients for the test kits, which are antigens and antibodies. Energy storage, we're looking at battery materials, and these are based on some of our key minerals like vanadium, cobalt, and more that are used in the battery materials. Developing hydrogen and fuel cell economy, we've been doing a lot of work. We are advanced in producing catalysts which are based on platinum. What we are looking at is to expand those activities to include building a fuel cell itself. We have heard colleagues from Saneri talking about the clean technologies. Our contribution here is to produce gas from coal, and we are targeting discards or abandoned coal finds, and we have demonstrated this Mintech that it is doable to produce gas from coal. Overview of key challenges. I've indicated earlier, if you look at this graph from 2014, if you look at the red, the pink, and the dark gray, this is non-research staff complement. we've been heavy on non-research staff complement. Our intention is to reduce that overcapacity and to start to build the light gray, which is really our asset, the scientists, the researchers at Mintech. So the investment that we are talking about of 13.8 million, primarily it will go towards strengthening our set base. Chair, we looked at what we promised to do. This is what is contained in the shareholder compact. If you look from 2008 to 2019, our commercial income has been decreasing, and we had projected that we started to arrest that in 2020, and the projection was to increase that. Unfortunately, the downgrade, COVID-19, the implications of that is the slow economic activities in the country. So we revisited our assumptions and models. So what I'm presenting in the next slide is to say just look at this part. We will not be ramping up a lot beyond 2021 financial year. Yes, Chair.
It's 3 minutes left, Doc.
Okay, yes, I'm almost done, Chair. Then if you look at where we come from in terms of financial projections, this is what we have projected in the compact that will be ramping up. Unfortunately, we had to revisit that without mitigations. We're saying this part will still increase, but it will not be that rapid. You can look at the graph here a little deep. Now, the implication of all that is that our total income will decrease by 10%. That's what it means, okay? Then our total commercial income will decrease by 45%. And this is without mitigations, Chair. We've started engaging with industry. We'll see how we have lost 4 months. So what we are saying is we'll look at ways and means to ramp up activities. Mintech work on a shift basis, so we'll be ramping up to make sure that we cover the lost grant. Key strategic programs, Chair, these are the 3 in red that COVID-19 and the downgrade really help us to sharpen our activities. The first one, it is develop state-of-the-art manufacturing infrastructure, develop hydrogen and fuel cell economy and energy storage. Of course, we'll be looking at cleaner coal technologies. We presented before on this slide that we have state-of-the-art manufacturing facility at Mintech to produce HIV, TB, malaria, Rift Valley fever test kits. We're repurposing that facility to produce coronavirus, COVID-19 test kits. So in a nutshell, what we managed to do is to repurpose some of our activities to produce hand and surface sanitizers. At Mintech, currently we're producing 4,000 liters of sanitizers per week. We'll be massifying that production. Also, we have all the ingredients that we need to produce rapid test kits. What is important with antigens antibodies, we do not have a facility like Mintech that has the license from SAPRA, which is our South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. We have a license from SAPRA to produce test kits. We are now repurposing our activities to produce antigens and antibodies, and there's no capacity in the country to do this, okay? And this will contribute to stimulating the economy and creating jobs. Secondly, we have been working on developing catalysts for fuel cells, which is actually the main ingredient. This is the engine of a fuel cell.
Wrap up, Doc.
Yes. Hello?
Wrap up, please.
Yes, we'll be expanding our capacity to produce fuel cell itself, okay? And lastly, Chair, on energy storage, we are looking at battery material. These are many ingredients for energy storage as an enabler of a just energy transitions. You can look at important minerals there, which is nickel, vanadium, graphite, and some of this we have in abundance in the country. So in terms of our strategic programs, Chair, this is what we'll be focusing on. The rest of the programs, it will be what we have been doing. There'll be some repurposing, but these are key for us. We will be visiting most of the work that we have done on coal gasification, especially targeting waste dumps. We've done this work before, and we're engaging with many role players in this space, really to accelerate the development in this space. So in a nutshell, Chair, this is where we are as Mintech. The rest of the slides really provide details on what I've indicated earlier on. They give trends for the past 10 years. This is where I'll stop, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Togo. Honorable members, I'm trying my level best, and unfortunately, it's something that I can't help. The question of time, I tried where there were a little bit of hitches to give at least about 2 minutes because I had to make interventions in certain areas. Honorable members, I think it's we will, if that doesn't go through, we'll get an opportunity to clarify some of those things when we deal with the questions. Honorable members, same pattern, same time, no extra, and hopefully all members who are in this forum would have sitting in very good strategic positions. Honorable Volmarans, what's your take? Whilst they're still trying to take out their presentation,
Chair,
but we will hear your
I'm
voice
relatively,
most definitely.
yeah, yes. No, I'm relatively content with the presentation and the meat that it gives. The only thing that I wanted to check, Chair, on slide 18, where you've got that declining commercial income, especially.
Apologies, Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr.
Hello?
Volmarans, can you switch on your camera, and can Mintech please take out the presentation so that Mr. Volmarans, we can see his face?
Yeah, but in
I've
the
switched
meantime, we
on.
must continue because
Yes.
whilst they are taking off the, yes.
No. Yeah, I'm saying on slide 18, there's a decline in the commercial income, especially the local one. And I see there was an uptake in as far as the international commercial income. What do we attribute that to? Is it a question of, apart from the global economics, is it a question of less confidence locally or lack of market share? What would you attribute that to? And that would be all, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. I'm particularly glad to see that they've been so quick to repurpose to react to COVID-19. I'd just like if they can expand on the top project for since 2018, 2019, and what it is and what the income generating capacity of that project has been and the potential to create jobs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Mtenjan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yeah, excellent.
No, that's good. Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank for the representation. Presentation, and also to commend Mintech for their involvement in as far as the COVID-19 pandemic issue is concerned, with their highly state-of-the-art equipment for producing testing kits for COVID-19 and also for these other diseases like AIDS and all those things as per se. But now the MinTech revenue in real terms has not been growing in the previous 5 years. Now I want to know why. That will be the question. And the last question, Chairperson, will be, earlier on we were told that MinTech is the one that is doing the project of a rehabilitation on the asbestos mines. Now I want to also check on that one. How far are they with that program as of now? And sometimes we hear that they used to have a problem when they were doing that project, especially with the community where they will be coming and toiling and all those things. If they can explain to us what normally is the issue, why are the community fighting them when they are doing a report? Do they also identify the ex-workers who were affected by that disease and the community that is living around that area? Because that is a serious issue that we are confronted with every day. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ntenzane. Honorable Hendricks.
Chair, I am covered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Bilankulu is still not in the house. Okay. Honorable Ngumalo.
Thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to colleagues. I think I'm also partly covered, Chair, but I would also
We got lost, Honorable
want to ask company intake whether they am I audible now, Chair?
You come on and then cut off. Can you repeat again?
No, my
Okay, whilst still having
my
Honorable Ngumalo.
connection is quite bad because I'm using my phone as a myself, sir.
Okay, Honorable Ngumalo, can I suggest this there because even your picture is fading, we can't see, but we do want to hear your contribution. Honorable Hendricks, can you switch off the camera? Can you do this thing, Honorable Ngumalo, because we want to hear on the screen. There is something there that allows them you to make some notes so that we can be sure that what you wanted to raise does come through, because it seems you have got a network problem where you are. Just write on the screen what is it that you needed a clarity on or a question on. But if MinTech has had you, they will respond to your clarity. Please, we want to hear what you. But even now, when I'm looking on the screen, it's impossible to see. It's like you are in a dark corner. So it's not that we want to exclude you in the conversation, but you can write there on the screen And I see that there is a challenge also with Honorable Bilankulu. He joins, he goes, he joins to goes. I think he's suffering from what affected me one day. Can we go to Honorable Malinga?
You can pass me.
Honorable Malinga.
I'm covered, Chair. You can proceed to the next one.
Honorable Fanyan.
Thank you, Chairperson. We welcome the presentation and we are covered.
Okay. Honorable Mailam.
Thank you, Chairperson. A couple of questions. The first is, first of all, I welcome Mintech's involvement in the COVID-19 crisis and what they're doing there. I do have some questions, though. The first is that you talk about the hand sanitizers that you are producing, 4,000 liters of which you have distributed, and you talk about the massification thereof. When are you going to make that commercially available? I mean, this is one of the things that Mintech should be able to roll out quite quickly. The second is the test kits. Obviously, this is something that the country direly needs, and there is no local manufacturer, as you indicate in the slide. So what sort of time frame are we looking at to get these out to our hospitals, to our clinics, etc., so that they can conduct these tests? Then, throughout your presentation, sir, I see that there are a lot of pilots, but not a lot of commercialization. And I asked this when we visited you at Mintech last year. Who is actually doing your commercialization and what progress is being made? Just to put it in perspective, you talk about the fact that you've got 224 active patents, but only 8 licensing agreements. Now, to me, that says that there is enormous opportunity that's not being commercialized. And I'd really like to know what you're doing to address that shortfall. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm done.
Thank you, Honorable Mailam.
Thank you very much, Chair. There is really not much on Mintech except to welcome the presentation. It's pretty much exciting to hear what they are doing, the good work that they are doing, which warrants that probably the support that they need to be given, especially in the functioning of their core business. I see that the people who are responsible for their core business at PhD level are 17%, and you have 38, if I'm not mistaken, of masters. Probably the support that they would need to go to greater heights would be to convert probably the 38% they have at master's level to be PhDs, so that their core business really is valuable. And probably those that are at honors level to be supported to be at master's level and so forth. But generally, we are very happy with the work they are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mashaule. Mintech, can you respond on other aspects? You can't take more than 10 minutes on this one, I can assure you.
Okay. I'll be brief, Chair. The first question was from Honorable Volmarans on slide 18, where our local income is declining. If you look at that graph, Honorable Volmarans, around 2009, our income local was at its peak, and this was during the mining boom. Post the boom, everything is declining. Okay, what was happening prior to that? Mining houses were investing in big pilot activities. Post that, we've seen that mining houses are looking for quick solutions. They are not investing in 50 million rand pilot activities, but they are willing to pay $1 million and so. So Mintech, we did not respond to the change. That's why you are seeing around 2020, we are repurposing most of our activities. We are building new capacity in modeling so that we can respond quickly. Pilot plans take six months, 18 months. Mining houses are looking for solutions and information sooner than that. So we're building new capacity to respond to the new challenge. Okay, so that's important. But also, Mintech was focusing on service activities, those pilot activities. We see that there's more that we can do to provide more value as opposed to just relying on service work. And that's why we're repositioning Mintech to be a true research and technology organization. And we're saying in the science is core to most of our activities. Honorable Phillips, the top projects, if I just take one on COVID-19, and this maybe if I'm more specific and talk to test kits, okay? There are economic opportunities, but there's more than that. Test kits, at the moment, there's no facility in the country that can validate even external test kits. Mintech has a license from SAPRA to manufacture test kits. We're in the last step of having ISO certification to be able to produce test kits locally in the country. With partnership with SAPRA, we will be even validating important test kits that are used in the country. That is important for us. With Caterpillar, we will be setting up an entity that will be focusing on the production of test kits, not only COVID-19, HIV, which is at an advanced stage, and we've gone through clinical trials on HIV test kits. Just on sanitizers, you might even ask why Mintech is involved in sanitizers. When we wanted to buy sanitizers, all we got were sanitizers that were not compliant with World Health Organization guidelines. So we decided to repurpose our activities to provide the country with quality sanitizers that are specific to our own National Institute of Communicable Disease as well as compliant to WHO guidelines. That is important for us. And we are massifying production on sanitizers. And that is linked to the question later on Honorable Milam. Honorable Tenjani, you spoke about our declining income. We've noted that most of our programs actually are geared towards addressing that decline. You can see that most of our programs are industry focused. Partnership with industry is key so that we are co-investing in the development as well as the piloting of these activities. That's why we're saying Mintech for a foreseeable future will be a going concern. On rehabilitation, Chair, we are busy, and I'll ask the CFO later on to come on specific in terms of our activities on rehabilitation. We did have some challenges in terms of communities. What I can say is that initially we're just a project manager. We build capacity at Mintech. We have a program management office with the requisite skills to be able to address rehabilitation. We have quantity surveyors, engineers, people who are designing programs to make sure that we have fit for purpose solution when it comes to rehabilitation. Quickly, Honorable Milam, your questions on hand sanitizers. When are we going to commercially make this available? We are making this commercially available. We are providing, we just processed an order for our own department, DMRE, of 1,500 liters of sanitizers. What has been the bottleneck, Honorable Milam, is the procurement of ethanol. We've partnered with Petro SA. They will make available to us 35,000 liters of ethanol, which is a main ingredient for the hand sanitizers, and we finalized the procurement of that. That has been the bottleneck. We do have a bottling. At Mintech, we can produce 4,000 liters per week. To commercialize this, we have partnered with a local bottling company to be able to bottle on our behalf. We do all the formulation, they're just doing bottling for us so that we can provide the market, we can provide the hospital. So that is on track, Honorable Malam. On the test kits, the bottleneck has been to produce test kits, we need to import antigens and antibodies. You don't believe that before even the lockdown, we've placed orders on antigens and antibodies. Some of them, we just received our consignment last week. I was told that another one is coming tomorrow. And that's the reason why that we're proposing that Mintech or the country should build capacity to produce locally antigens and antibodies. And that's why we're coming in to repurpose our activities to be able to provide the country with that much needed capacity. Okay, the timelines on that, our plan is within 2 months to produce a prototype that will be clinically validated. So within two months, if everything goes well. So 2 months, then we can report back where are we. We are saying 2 months because we've been doing work since 2006 on HIV, malaria, red vein. So what we are doing is just repurposing our programs and activities to respond quickly to COVID-19. We have a lot of pilots. Yes, you've noted that correctly, Honorable Malan. Commercialization is a challenge. Actually, just a week before lockdown, we had lined up all the interviews. We have established a portfolio within Mintech that will be focusing on commercialization. We are back at work. We are fast-tracking that. We are recruiting. We've even enlisted the service of an executive search company to help us to get the right people to make sure that Mintech will commercialize most of this patent. What I might add is that some of these technologies were developed not in consultation with industry. That's where the challenge is. And when you visited us, we did indicate that going forward, we'll be partnering very strongly with industry so that we provide fit-for-purpose solutions for industry, not scientists pursuing their pet project, and we see some elements of that. So there's a lot of work, 18 license agreements that are still active, Chair. That does not mean we have more than that. Some of this, they come to an end, but what we are reporting here, active, we do anticipate to sign 2 more license
2 minutes left.
Okay. We do anticipate to have more license agreements. To that effect, Honorable Mailam, we have established an office at Mintech of technology, IP management and technology transfer. We did receive support from NIPMO to a tune of 9 million rand to build capacity, to recruit the right people to occupy that office. That will help us a great deal. And all this were delayed, Honorable Malem, by COVID-19. But we are back at work. We have started. Even today, there were interviews. We are moving ahead. When we report in the next quarter, we'll report on progress to date. Honorable Mahlaule, we take your comment on PhDs, honors level. We are supporting honors level employees as well as bazaars. You're right. Our set, this is our biggest asset, is our researchers and scientists. And that's why we're investing heavily to make sure that we grow the set base. It is our target. You can see in our KPIs, that's the target that we're a bit aggressive to make sure that in the next 2 to 3 years, we have ramped up significantly on our set base. Chair, I'm not sure if I've left anything. Maybe Saki Samilana, our CFO, quickly on rehabilitation.
Please, 1 minute, Saki.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, just quickly on the issue of rehabilitation. The CEO has just mentioned we have capacitated ourselves as Mintech to do more than just a project management as we used to do. We are continuing with the rehabilitation at the rate of about 4 to 5 sites, big sites annually. Most of the sites are in the Limpopo province. And we also do the haulings, the Zama haulings. We do at the rate, we rehabilitate those at the rate of about 40 haulings annually. And the biggest challenge that we have had is always with the community, because most of the communities are unemployed. They just require employment. Once we appoint a contractor, the communities demand employment, and of course, the local procurement of some of the products, that's where the squabbles are. We try as much as we can to enforce that whatever subcontractors that are doing, they subcontract about 30% to the local communities, but it's not always enough to satisfy the requirements of the communities. So regarding the ex-workers, we do look for them, but when we get into those rehabilitation areas, it's normally the communities in general that we support on those particular projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Saki. Thank you, Mintag. I hope now in this 1 minute, Necsa, please, it's 1944. I'll give you just 5 minutes extra. By 5 past, you must bring back the ropes to me. Welcome, Necsa. Welcome to the new board chairperson and others. Let me extend our apologies. It were circumstances beyond our control. We had thought by now when we meet, we will be knowing each other. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the introductory meeting that you had initially requested. So please, just bear with us. The pandemic was the one that blocked. Now, unfortunately, we are meeting for the first time as a committee with your chair and some of your board members who might be here. It was never our intention. Can I give it to you, please? 5 time, put your wash. It means you've got 20 minutes at least, because it's a bonus to you. By 5 past, please, your wash must tell you that you are 40 minutes, you are 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to hand over very quickly to Ayanda Mayeli, who is the acting Group Chief Executive. But just to mention that we have attending this meeting Nemani Macau, Gregory Davids, and Senameli Masango, who are 3 of the board members who were appointed. And we were appointed in February, January or February, and it's been quite hectic since then, and COVID hasn't helped us very much. But I'll hand over to Ayanda to make the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chairperson. Good evening to the Portfolio Committee Chairperson, as well as the members of the Portfolio Committee. We also have amongst the executives from Necsa, the MDs of Belcam and NTP, Mr. Khadebe and Ms. Epoka, as well as the Group CFO, Hlengiwe, she's here with us, and Nike Lwatengimfene, the General Manager responsible for communication and stakeholder relations. Let me bring up the presentation. I hope you will be able to see it. Can you see it now?
Hope not yet.
Not yet. Let's see.
Continue in the meantime, we do have our own.
All right.
Yes, it's in now.
Okay. Just trying to get this on. Okay. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is to take you through our Necsa group strategy, which has been approved by the board at the end of April. The new board and the executives have been working over the last couple of months to develop this strategy to ensure that we turn around the organization and also ensure long-term financial sustainability going forward. So the strategic assumptions that we used in the development of the strategy are based on our minister's budget vote speech on the 10th of July last year, where he mentioned 3 key policy statements which underpinned quite a lot of the work that we had to do in developing our strategy. The fact that nuclear is still part of the future electricity generation mix of our country, which has been confirmed even most recently with the 2.5 gigawatts of nuclear capacity that we have for the future in terms of the electricity generation mix, and potentially even more. The need for us to build a replacement for our Safari 1 research reactor by building this, what we call a multi-purpose reactor, MPR, which is a very important asset for Necsa. It is the heart of Necsa. It is our competitive advantage in terms of the production of nuclear medicine through our subsidiary NTP, as well as the research that we do through this facility, even in support of a nuclear build program. And lastly, the ministers mentioned the need for us to advance the operation of Ketlapila as a state-owned pharmaceutical entity at Necsa, which is also very strategic and key for manufacture of ARVs for the treatment of AIDS. As we probably know, these ARVs currently we import them. So we don't want to continue doing that, knowing that we're one of the biggest users of ARVs, but we want to produce them locally. So this would be through a partnership with Mintech, as well as an international partner. So the strategy that we have developed is based on 3 key phases: short term, medium term, and long term. In the short term, we refer to our strategy as one of sweating assets. Of course, our strategic intent, as you will see at the top of the slide, is it says we want to be a world leader in nuclear, radiation, and related technologies by 2030. We have been very well known as Necsa in the international nuclear industry, as having been a very key global player. You will remember that we even used to make nuclear weapons. We used to make our own fuel for Quebec. So we are not small players in the nuclear industry generally. Our own research reactor, Safari, is known to be one of the most utilized, highly utilized and well-managed reactors in the world. So we are not small player when it comes to this. So sweating the assets in the main, we talk about ensuring high availability and reliability of existing infrastructure. Before we can think about growth of our infrastructure, growth of our products, we need to ensure that the existing assets are mostly highly utilized in terms of availability and reliability. So for NTP, we're talking regaining our 20% molybdenum-99 market share, which is very important after the long closure of NTP over a number of months that you would be aware of. So we have been on a sustainable return to service program of our facilities at NTP, and we are focused now towards ensuring that we regain the market share that we lost over that period. And that also means that we will increase the range of medical isotopes from 3 to 4. And from Pelcam, we're talking about refurbishment of existing facilities. These facilities are old, over 30 years old, and they need to maintain them and ensure their reliability is very important for us. Before we can talk further growth, which I'm going to talk about. At the Necsa level, we talk about achieving 1.4 billion rand revenue. Currently, in the previous year, financial year 2020, we're looking at 1.2 billion. So we talk about 20% growth at the Necsa corporate level of our turnover there. Through ASME, supply of ASME type components. This is through our industrial manufacturing entity called Parliamentary Enterprises, where we've got a ASME 3 and NSTEM for manufacture and design of nuclear components, which makes us the only company in the continent to be able to do such. I do believe Egypt has just managed to establish that capability. So we've been the only entity in the continent for the longest time. We talk about uranium recovery. So these are projects that I'm sharing with you that will increase our turnover and certainly bring some turnaround for Necsa. Uranium recovery from waste streams where we have such uranium that we can still utilize. We talk about recovery from spent nuclear fuel. That's what SNF stands for, which in the main would help to improve our balance sheet from the sales or utilization of this used uranium. We talk about doing contract R&D. This is in respect of 6 key impact areas that we've identified that will bring more opportunities for growth for Necsa. This is where now we do in the main research through the technology readiness levels up to commercialization, where we are able to spin them off in the main towards our subsidiaries for commercialization and our division called Parliamentary Enterprises. Talk about reduction of our liability, nuclear waste liability, by 10% and further reduction over the years, as you will see. So that's in the short term. In the medium term, that is about 5 years from now, we're talking further increase of market share at NTP, where we produce medical isotopes, and increase of the range of those medical isotopes from 4 to 6. Pelcam, this is where we produce our fluorine-based chemicals. There we're a small player in the market. There's a big scope for us to increase our market share by increasing our capacity of our production plants. And we talk there the possibility to build a 30,000 tons per annum HF plant. That is in comparison with existing capacity of about 4,500 tons per annum. So that's how much increase we talk about in scope to make these plants more economically viable. So that's on HF. And then also upscaling production of specialty fluorochemicals. And then for Kotlapila, a project in collaboration with Mintech, we're talking there initially having a 35% market share of ARVs, and this will grow over the next years, as I will show you in the next slides to come. As we continue in the next 5 years, we talk about growing our supply of ASME-related components through our entity Parliamentary Enterprises, I have to say that this year, in fact, end of 2020, this entity for the first time will make a profit. This is through our ability to provide services to Eskom successfully. As we supply them with components for maintenance, for their life extension project, which will extend over the years to come. We've been a very reliable supplier to Eskom, and we want to continue to do that. And by doing so, we also have to increase the local content of our plant at Quebec, having been built by the French in the main. The components have been supplied by overseas suppliers, so we need to change that. And through the strategic positioning of our Parliamentary Enterprises entity, we are able to do that in collaboration with Eskom. We talk about uranium recovery on a continued scale. In the medium term, we talk about increasing even the supply of components beyond the nuclear industry. We believe that our ASME 3 and NSTEM puts Necsa in a very good position to supply components to other industries as well, and actually help towards localization and industrialization in general beyond nuclear. We can't limit ourselves in our thinking, because when you localize and industrialize at the top of the supply chain, you have to do a strong intervention there through a very big entity. We've seen this in many countries where they've successfully localized their nuclear programs, that the activities of such entities, strategic entities like Parliamentary Enterprises, like Necsa, that kind of role is one that's strategic at the top of your supply chain. And that's our thinking and our vision going forward, even for our nuclear program, as we work towards establishing a bigger nuclear program for the country. In the long term, we talk about increasing sales for nuclear medicine from around 1 billion right now to about 2 billion. That's how much ambition we have. This is achievable through new markets, new products, 33% market share. So we've done all those analysis through increase of the range of isotopes from 6 to 9. For Belchem, I mentioned the Ketlapila and Tutukani projects already. So we're talking increasing sales up to levels of 1.3 billion in terms of fluorochemicals there. In terms of ARVs, we're looking at about 4.1 billion by that time in terms of sales, and even more growth on supply of ASME 3, ASME 8 related components, as I said, even beyond the nuclear industry. As a preferred supplier, we hope we will be able to take the success that we're having with Eskom and be able to extend that even to other infrastructure projects in the country, in the main, to maintain the strategic capability that we so require for expanding our nuclear program. We talk about even more uranium recovery on an increased scale in about 10 years' time. We talk more R&D income in terms of the 6 impact areas that I spoke about, the level of about 240 million rand, reduction of our current liability, as well as commissioning of the multipurpose reactor, which in the main would contribute just about 2 billion rand revenue for the Necsa group. We also talk about in our thinking, in the strategy, the possibility of leveraging a small modular reactor technology. You will recall that we have PBMR, pebble bed modular reactor expertise that we've developed in the country. So we are in the process, in our thinking, of wanting to leverage that as well with a strategic partner, because this is the future of nuclear, especially in Africa, where you get smaller grids You cannot afford to build big 1,000 megawatt units as is currently the case, mostly with Gen 3 technology. So the scope there, and to use SMR technology, the US is the likes of Bill Gates, they're heavily investing in such technology. So we are salivating actually over this opportunity, which will also help us to strengthen our industrial manufacturing capability there through localization of such technology, not just for ourselves, South Africa, in terms of 2.5 gigawatts of scope of nuclear power, but also for export markets. This is how far we are thinking with regard to this particular opportunity, which we are really excited about. In terms of finances, this is a high-level projection of what the finances look like. In the current year ending 2021, we're looking at a revenue of about 3.1 billion. That is in comparison with 2 billion in the previous financial year. So this is not a small increase. It's really a big effort. And however, we still look at a loss nonetheless of 61 million rand in the current year, but this is only year zero in terms of the strategy development. In year one already, the following year, and you're going to see that in the next slide, we'll be able to turn around the bottom line. But then again, the 61 million loss has to be seen in the context of a 237 million budget loss for the previous year. So that's a big turnaround year on year on the bottom line. Yes, sir.
I'm giving you 2 minutes to wrap up.
All right. So these are the figures. As you can see, 61 million for the group that you see there that I mentioned in the current financial year, and the numbers going forward, they turn around positively, as you've seen in the previous slide. I have talked to that slide, so I'm going to pass it. Current status, which is my last slide, is that the Necsa board, as I said earlier, has approved the Necsa group strategy at the end of April. This is a core and key part of our corporate plan. We submitted one end of February. We will revise the corporate plan based on the new strategy that has been approved. Our minister has approved the Caterpillar project for the ARVs, production of ARVs, and that project now is with the Minister of Finance, Minister of Health. NTP is on a path for sustainability. I think I mentioned this as well. The projected impact of COVID-19, negative impact, when we estimated it in April, was 150 million rands. We will have to address that going forward. And I have to say, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, we are producing sanitizers as well at a capacity through Parliamentary at a capacity of 10,000 liters per week. We plan to ramp that up to about 25,000 liters per week from June. So we are very proud of our contribution there through Parliamentary, and we've also developed a prototype ventilator. It's still on a prototype level. We are busy to commercialize it. So it's still very early days, but we have done some good work there. The Necsa board and management, in conclusion, are looking forward to implementing the Necsa group strategy to ensure our turnaround and long-term financial sustainability. The rest of the slides, Chairperson, are there for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Babu. Thank you, Babu. Honorable members, I'm trying my level best. Now the list goes. 3 minutes again. We must stick to that time. Honorable Masaule, you are welcome. On your 3 minutes, Honorable Mailem. Honorable Hlonyana, should be Honorable Malinga, Honorable Numalo, Honorable Bilankulu, Honorable Hendricks, Honorable Mtenjane, Honorable Phillips, Honorable Volmarals, and the last one, in your 3 minutes, you'll take notes, you know how to do it, you saw others before you. I don't even want to take my own time. Honorable members, Honorable Mashaule.
Thank you very much, Chair. We want to welcome the presentation by Necsa and express that unlike the last time when we received a presentation from Necsa, where we expressed the hopelessness that we could see from Necsa, it has seemed to change now to a hopeful situation, and we just want to congratulate Necsa in changing things around, seemingly. Just one thing, Chair, or two. Earlier on, we were asking NNR about their complaint for so long about your behavior in terms of adherence or non-compliance that led to your closure at some point. Would you say you are on a path to recovery in that regard? That is one. The second thing that is encouraging across board in the entities is that most of the entities, Chair, are speaking about collaboration with each other, which is encouraging because it paints a picture of non-competition amongst themselves, but complementary to each other. So we are particularly happy with that behavior. Mr. Dave Nicole, do you care to share with us when are we likely to get a CEO at Necsa? That would be all, Chair.
Honorable Mailam.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, thank you to the people at Necsa. I also want to welcome the presentation and hope that it portends of good things to come. However, I'm very concerned about some of the assumptions that you make in slide 3. You talk about new nuclear build, and you spoke particularly about 2,500 megawatts, 2.5 gigawatts of new build. I'd like to point out that that does not align with the IRP. The IRP makes no provision for 2.5 gigawatts of new build. It says we shall commence preparations at a pace and scale that South Africa can afford. So you're working off the wrong version of the IRP. And this is the same position that Minister Mantashe announced on Thursday a week ago, or Tuesday a week ago, I can't remember the exact date, when he spoke to this portfolio committee. But it is not what has been gazetted. It is not what has been approved. So how can you plan based on something that is not an approved strategy of government? I absolutely cannot understand that. I'm very concerned that we haven't seen a detailed turnaround strategy for Pelchem and Pelindaba Enterprises. In fact, I didn't hear Pelindaba Enterprises mentioned once in this presentation. Now, these are two of the entities that were most problematic when we did oversight there last year. So I would be very interested to hear what the status of those turnaround strategies are and when we can expect to have them tabled before this committee. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mailam. Honorable Hlonyane.
Thank you, Chair. I seem to have lost my camera, but you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Would like to welcome the presentation from Necsa, and then I just have one question, or it's a clarity-seeking question, Chair. At the beginning of the presentation, when they were speaking about the Caterpillar project, they spoke that they are in partnership with Mentec, but also, if I heard properly, the speaker said an international partner. So if there is an international partner, can I please get clarity? Who is the international partner? Thank you, Chair.
Janki, Honorable Malinga.
Thank you,
Honorable
Chairperson.
Malinga.
I couldn't hear anything that the acting CEO was saying. Thanks to the presentations that were sent to us, I had to go through them myself. But Chair, I just want to check with the CEO or the chairperson of the board that have they met the organizer. Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, Chairperson.
We're listening.
I can hear you. Can't you hear me?
We hear you.
Oh, I'm saying, Chairperson, can I check with the board if they have met the organized labor in Necsa? Because what we saw in our PC, the strained relationships between the acting CEO and organized labor left us with an unpalatable taste. Two, Chair, how does Necsa intend to ensure that NTP adheres to safety regulations as prescribed by NNR and to ensure that they don't lose revenue and their customer base that was built over the years? Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Numalo. Okay, in the absence of Honorable Numalo, in the meantime, Honorable Bilangulu, I think, is no longer here. Honorable Hendricks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I congratulate Necsa for taking the bull by the horns and getting us back on track as far as nuclear electricity is concerned. We can't wait till there's money in the bank. We have to be proactive, and I congratulate them on their proactiveness. Also, we hear about these international partners, and we would just like to caution, we should not stick to one international partner, but we should have a basket of international partners. I know, for example, that one of the countries that do much of the work that Necsa is dabbling with is Pakistan. And I've spoken to the ambassador of Pakistan, and they're quite willing to assist South Africa as a developing country, and they're quite willing to share their technology and their expertise, and also to buy some of our products. So I just hope that our mindset is flexible, and that we don't just stick to one international partner. Also, we noticed the good cooperation between Mentec and Necsa, and I think things are just getting better. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Tenjan.
Oh, well, once again, thank you very much, Chairperson, and also welcome the new board members. We know that the broom, they say it sweeps clean when it's new, so we want them to stay new so that they can always sweep clean, because remember, our people are waiting for service delivery, our people are sick with diseases, so we want their delivery. And we commend the minister also for finally since from 2018 for now finally appointing a new board so that things can get going for this cooperation, because we've been waiting for this for such a long time. So our only advice to them, we would like to just advise them that please let them do the work that they were employed for them to do. Let them, they must leave politics to us, politicians. They must do what they are employed to do. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mtenjane. Honorable Phillips.
Thank you so much, Chair. I would also just like to congratulate them on their, it seems like there's a whole new vibe, which is great to hear and to see, and also on their proactive input into the COVID epidemic. But then I'd also like to echo my colleague, the Honourable Malam's concern about these nuclear bills, which seem one area of government seem to be planning and the other area of government don't seem to have money for. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Phillips. Abu Volmarans.
Charlotte, I also welcome the presentation. It is a positive far cry from what we were fed and what we witnessed when we visited the NTT. That slide 15, it gives us a lot of hope, and it is more than welcome. I also want to echo the question that relates to the relationship between the NTT and its labor, since we saw what we saw about their relationship. What have they done? How far are they? The production of sanitizers by Necsa, is it in collaboration with Mintech, or is it also on competing for the market share? They can just expand on that, or are they together, or are they on their own there, since they are in the same stable? And then the last one is a slide 41, where they mention a risk of lack of transformation and an inability to retain the designated groups. Is there a turnaround strategy addressing that, and what are they going to do around that issue? Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Necsa, can you respond?
I will. Thank you, sir. I'll take a couple of the questions and then pass it across to the CEO because a couple of questions came my way, I think, to the committee. And the first one is the question was asked about the permanent appointment of a CEO. I can just comment that we're trying to resolve the issues at CCMA, etc., with the current previous CEO, and once that is resolved, which we hope will be shortly, we will go out to advert for a new CEO, and hopefully that will take a few months to sort out. But we cannot start that process until we've legally resolved the issues with the existing previous CEO. So that's by that kind. The second one I'll take up is, I think, 2 or 3 of the MPs mentioned, honourable members, that mentioned the IRP and the 2,500 megawatts and Necsa's enthusiasm about nuclear new build. And I think you will understand that's the kind of thing which gets Necsa excited. It's in our title. I will have a comment on 2 very important concepts to this one. The first is that nothing in our current turnaround strategy takes credit for any work coming out of a nuclear new build program. So while we believe in it and we're doing some academic work in the background, the recovery program we presented today does not rely upon a nuclear new build program for its success. That would be extra. And my second comment is the IRP has delineated what plant is supposed to be commissioned up to 2030. It has not listed what gets but beyond 2030. It's got several scenarios beyond 2030. But as the Minister pointed out, he was looking for the prelim work to be completed by 2024, as I understand his comments, And even assuming that we place contracts in 2024 for a new build program, there would be nothing online before about 2030, 2032 at the absolute earliest, more likely 2035. So I would comment as an individual that the current IRP has a weakness, that it stops the process in 9 years from now. And in mega projects, 9 years is, nothing gets done in 9 years completed. So those are the two questions I think were raised to me. And I'm going to leave the rest to, the other one, I'll leave the rest to the CEO. So over to yourself, Ayanda.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to respond to a few questions, and then some of them I will hand them over to the MDs who are here for Berkham and NTP. I think the first question relates to the unions, and I will say that I think it was unfortunate that at that particular point in time there were those issues that the union had raised at that particular point in time, but there was always intention to discuss those openly and to address them. I have held the view that in any relationship, when there are differences, it's not because such a relationship on its own, it is a problem. I've held that view. I have differences with my own family members from time to time, but it has never meant that the strained relationships per se. But I do understand that it did come out that way. And what we have done is that we have had some sessions between the union members and management representatives in what we call group bargaining forum. One such session was actually chaired by the CCMA to help us to address issues of labor in general. I think it was a very successful session. I was called in the last day to come and witness what the outcome was, and I saw that with my own eyes, and I was pleased. So we have continued, through such engagements with the GBF, and management gives us feedback on a regular basis on discussions that are happening there. And also, when we did the group strategy development, we had the union as being part of one of the days where they gave their input. So this is always something that we do when we do strategy development, that we engage with the union to give very valuable input. So one looks forward to improved, even better relations between management and the union. Other questions, I'm just going to tackle them as I can recall them. Honorable Malem, apart from his concern on the 2.5 gigawatt of nuclear, which the chairperson has addressed, spoke about not having seen the strategy for Berkham and Pelindaba Enterprises. Pelindaba Enterprises is a division of Necsa. I just have to make that clear. It's one division where we do industrial manufacturing. The strategy that we are talking about is a group strategy. So in essence, it includes our subsidiaries. That's why we call it group. It includes NTP, it includes Berkham. Hence, you would have heard me refer to projects from Berkham, which are very strategic, important for the growth of the group. But those projects come from Berkham. When I spoke about the sanitizers, this is from Berkham's own plants as a part of the group. So the strategy we're talking about is a group one, of which Berkham is part. There was a question whether we're producing the sanitizers in collaboration with Mintech. Not at the moment. But what I will do, I will give our MD, Mr. Hadebe, an opportunity to speak more. I think there was a question about the sanitizers. There was a question about strategic partnership and around that. So I think he will comment. And likewise on NTP, there was a question on whether we will continue on a sustained path of regulatory compliance. I think I will give an opportunity to Mr. Boka also to answer that question. Let's see what other questions I can see here. The risk relating to transformation. The risk relating to transformation goes like this. We have to continuously transform the organization, especially in key areas such as R&D. And it takes time to develop expertise that you need in such an area as R&D. So in the main, we use knowledge management to ensure that we retain knowledge. Knowledge resides in people and elsewhere, documents everywhere else. But in the main, it resides in people. So we're talking how we can transfer such knowledge from those who have the expertise to those who are knowledge seekers, as it were, using knowledge management speak. So it's something that we haven't perfected. I think when the honorable members came to Necsa and visited Necsa, it was something that we shared with you as one of our weaknesses. And we're addressing through a very strong knowledge management program, which we have derived from the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. So that's something that we're working on. We will not lie to the portfolio committee and say that it's a perfect situation, but nonetheless, it's something that we will continue to strive on. But I have to say that the number of black technical staff as a percentage of the total staff is about 50%, almost on target. If we miss the target at any one time, it will be by 0.5%. So you can say we're tracking almost on target, but we recognize that in some of the key areas of knowledge and expertise, we need more transformation. Let me see what else. Right now, let me hand over firstly to Mr. Khadebe. Ivan, you there?
Yes, I'm here, CEO.
Yes, Ivan. Thanks.
Good evening, honorable members. With regards to the question on the sanitizers, it's actually a three-way collaboration between Mintech, Pelcam, and Nketlapela. So the three entities have been working together so that they can produce the WHO recommended formulations. As the CEO of Mintech has mentioned previously, there's quite a shortage of the WHO recommended sanitizers within the country, but also within the region. So that's why the three of us decided to collaborate so that we can have the necessary scale to provide the WHO sanitizers. So that is a complementary collaboration between the three entities. That will be all from my side.
Thank you, Ivan.
There was a question, who was the international partner?
Oh, yeah, international partnership, Ivan.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Now, with regards to the international partner for the state-owned pharmaceutical company, we did an expression of interest way back in 2018, where we shortlisted a number of large generics pharmaceutical company, and the preferred partner was then selected to be Matlot Pharmaceuticals from India. They are currently the largest producer and supplier of ARVs and also, for TB pharmaceutical products. Currently, we are awaiting, the final concurrence from the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Ivan. As Mr. Boka, please, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening to the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. I'm going to try and answer the three questions that came up from the honorable members. One question had to do with following the safety regulations and how we work with Necsa to ensure sustainability of our operations. We work with Necsa Nuclear Compliance and Safety Unit to make sure that we meet the requirements from the NNR. And I'm confident and comfortable to say that since July 2018, we've worked very closely to make sure that we rebuild the production protocols and our standard operating procedures. And we have, since November 2018, started producing and providing product to the market. We have been able to regain almost 80% of our customers since we started operation, and we believed going into this financial year that by July 2020 we would have recovered all our customers. The challenge courier services between South Africa and the rest of the world. However, working with SAA, we've managed...
Sorry, ma'am. Can someone switch off the mic, please? There's some mic that is making a picture. No, yours, Babumyoli, is off except your video. Can someone somewhere switch off the mic, please?
If I may continue, Honorable Chair. So we are on a process to recover our customers as well as maintain our production, both for molybdenum, which is the major product that we sell internationally, iodine 131, and we've also started producing a new product, lutetium 177 NCA, which is used for prostate cancer treatment. And I am confident that as long as we run Safari safely, we run the NTP production facilities safely, we will be able not only to regain the international markets, but importantly that we have started to work on taking advantage of the African market with new products through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So in that, I believe that we are set to get back to the positions we were in 2017. I would mention that we've done a lot of training for our staff, and even though we've had the lockdown, we've managed to have 3 production runs and supply the American market as well as the European market. As long as we have flights into those countries, we're able to deliver product. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Iboka. I think we have dealt with all the questions, Chair. Unless we have missed one or two, I'm not sure. But I think we have addressed all of them, Chair.
If I may, Chair, I'd like to thank the committee for their kind words towards the new board. And I hope and I would just comment that we were given some tough targets when we came in, and I believe that with the new board and the new direction of the company, we have a good chance of turning this round. I will just jokingly comment that when the new board was first appointed, we were told we couldn't pay wages, and we got much press coverage on that we couldn't pay wages, and we did. And I believe it was the first of a series of things we're going to succeed at to turn this company around and make it back what it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Necsa, like I said initially. But please answer this question. I know that your acting CEO answered this question. That question was directed to you, whether the board has met with Labour and how are the relations, and what is your take on it? I think that was directed to the board.
The board as a whole has not met the unions. I met the unions personally at the second week of being in position, and I've had discussions with union leadership since then. So I've kept a discussion going with the unions, and I believe that the unions are looking for the survival and success and growth of Necsa as their primary interest. So as long as the board is showing that support, they seem all right. But because of the lockdown, we haven't had many meetings so far, but certainly in my discussions with the leadership of both the unions on site, I feel comfortable that we have a relationship where they will come and tell me if we are not doing the right thing.
Thank you, Chair. No. I wanted so that there can be clarity on some of these issues. Thank you very much. Thank you, honourable members. One of the things I must say, especially now that Necsa we have presented, obviously we still owe each other by your request, Chairperson, that we share some of those matters, not under pressure, but to see how best, because when you come to this committee, there are two things possible. One of them, the primary one, is accountability, but also we're here as a committee to assist and where we think we can. We don't want people to fear to come to the committee, but if you know that you don't know your story, I will just advise that try and find a way to cushion, because we don't speak next to the facts, we deal with the facts as they are. So I think as the committee is going to deliberate in all the presentations, we will surely try and find time, depending when this crisis we're faced with, when does it ease and allow a better interaction. But as I said, that I'm sure when I speak from behalf of this committee. The second thing is that as a chairperson, especially under such conditions, I don't think we necessarily say take away the responsibility of the operational task of the executives. It is enough when the chair gets an opportunity to interact with all the stakeholders, including. So you were representing the board in doing so. It's a question of how the matters are dealt with when you are sitting around as the board. So I think, to me, I wouldn't say feel guilty or that we might have not acted as a board. When you were doing that exercise, you were trying to manage a situation of which, as a chair, you have a responsibility for. So I want you to relax, not say, hey, I came to the committee. No, we're not looking at that. We're just looking at how do you manage some of the issues, on the challenges that are there. But on an overall, as I said, that we will try, all of the presentations that have been made, when the committee meets, be aware already that in its discussions, it might then be able to say, whilst we are looking at all the issues and all the presentations, we think that we need to have now a take on one-on-one per each of these particular entities, based on what the committee would have done in terms of its assessment and evaluation, and what it would then be able to recommend going forward. That could be as a result of what emanates on the presentation. So for now, the committee in essence is just listening to the presentations. It is not making an opinion or any recommendations. It is still going to go back and deliberate on the presentations that have been made. The last point on this one, before I go and give to the DG, I'm just saying in future, because we're still going to come back and deal with the BRRRs, the budget reviews and recommendation reports. We might be faced with a similar challenge. Just be ready and go back, and I think I want to give the task to the DG and say, for us as members of parliament, when we are here, I'm not sure Honorable Melam can tell me what his party is given. But one thing I can assure you, there is not a single party when we debate the reports that will get more than, it will be lucky if we get more than 30 minutes. It actually means all your reports, I still have to count, leave that there are entities within entities. I still have to do that exercise, entities within entities. All what you have presented, all of you as entities, in the so many days that were listening and were still going to listen, you will be lucky that each party a person can get more than 10 minutes. So in most cases is that we have to summarize everything that has been said in these committees into 10 minutes as a maximum of a person will get. It will be lucky if when they share the time they get 12. But the point I'm trying to say, when we do these things, it's not that we are not going through the same exercise. When your time is up, in that 12 minutes, it is up. You don't start to say I've got more than 16 entities. Whether you've got 16 entities, but when your time is allocated to be 10 minutes or 8 minutes, you must finish in 8 minutes. So that is why you are saying also yourselves when you come here, just tell yourself if there is no time, these are the points we want to do. Lastly, I think when we deal, honorable members, we will have to look at this response. I think the collaborations goes beyond just 3 entities when it comes to COVID-19. We have to look at these issues and also to what extent do we talk to the interdepartmental relations? Because in my view, I'm not sure where is the offtake. We can have this production and sometimes even the mining companies, the mining industry, with the magnitude of human personnel that it is taking, as we always talk about opening up the economy, it actually means there is a demand for some of those issues. Then what are the strategies? Which I think that's what members were trying to raise in relation to the commercial value of the production. Just quickly, DG, before I close the meeting, can we get what your remarks on the basis of your entities that you brought today?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. It's been a long day, but I must thank the Honorable Members, Chair, under your guidance and leadership with robust questions and also the answers that have been provided by the state-owned entities. It shows that we are hard at work in making sure that we respond to the challenges that our people are faced with, because that is basically our mandate to respond to the electorates, because you as members of parliament, you are there with a specific mandate of representing the entire nation. Now, from the side of the executive, we have a responsibility to come and account to you. Now, Chair, I came here, I was supposed to give an apology on behalf of the minister. I came here running because during the course of the day, I was in another province, and so I had to come back to join this meeting. Now, the minister has apologized, Chair. The cabinet activities or responsibilities kept them quite very busy. As you're aware that they're busy with NCCC as well and other programs of cabinet. The other issue, Chair, as I have appreciated the robustness, how the members have engaged in this conversation. There is one issue that I just want to bring to the attention of honorable members, that we have agreed even previously that during the BRRR will come and give an update to honorable members in terms of the work that we have done by then, looking specifically at our entities around the plans that they need to put in place. For an example, we're talking of rationalization and repurposing of state-owned entities. That is one other area, even Necsa as well. It is going to be affected by that process. As I have also indicated that during that process of BRRR will be able to come back and give a feedback to the honourable members. The other issue, Chair, I think the point that Honourable Malinga has raised, we have taken note of a comment. It's a very important comment. Lastly, Chair, without taking a lot of time, Honourable Melam asked a question around where do we get the 2,500 megawatts. Then, without getting into the details, I would like to make a reference to decision number 8. Then you will find decision number 8 on page 48 of the IRP. It makes a specific reference to the 2,500 megawatts. It says that commence preparations for a nuclear build program to the extent of 2,500 megawatts at a pace and scale that the country can afford, because it is a no-regret option in the long term. And so the chairperson of Necsa has also clarified this question. I thought that I should just make this addition and also to provide information to honorable members where they can find this information. With those words, Chair, I think it's been a long day, as I've said. You have done a wonderful job as members of Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. I would like to thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you, honorable members. We are meeting tomorrow at 12 o'clock, ne?
Yes, Chair.
Correct my team.
Yes, Chair, you're correct.
We are dealing with let me check my. We are dealing with Necsa, ne?
Correct, Chair.
SADPMR. I nearly
Yes,
said DPMRE, and then SDT.
Yes.
Is that the case?
Yes, Chair.
Honorable members, thank you very much for your maximum discipline. We know that this is an extraordinary exercise that we must meet beyond the working hours. But the truth of the matter is that the nation is looking up to us. We have a task and a responsibility to our people. And therefore, thank you very much for taking sacrifice. One of the things I've noticed is that I know when it is this time, there is a general belief that you are supposed to be sitting home, but if we were in Parliament, probably there would be no need for apologies, because this is some of the experiences that we have. So for your effort, your commitment, I wish to send my appreciation. We were not sure when we were scheduling some of these meetings. Also, Mentec, I would be doing an injustice if I don't appreciate your reasonability. When you came and then we had some hiccups and you considered, and thank you very much to allow us to say, come at a later stage. It's important just to have a sense of what the entities are doing. The rest of the issues obviously will rest with the committee. Thank you very much. Let's meet tomorrow again at 12 o'clock for the other related matters. Thank you very much. Meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.